It's time to write some code. And to write code, in this course, we're going to use Python. Python is known as a general purpose programming language. It's useful beyond data science. You can use it to write full applications, and many people do. But for our purposes, we're going to be using it for our data science tasks. The good news about Python is it has a simple syntax compared to other languages. And we're going to use the Spyder editor. This is built into Anaconda Studio to write and run our Python programs. If you have not yet gone through the introduction instructions in the week 0 module, I suggest you pause this video and make sure you have an Anaconda environment set up. Once you do, come back and join us. In order to run our first program, we need to launch the Spyder editor. First, open Spyder from Anaconda Navigator, and then we're going to type in the following code: print, bracket, quote, hello world, quote, end bracket. Let's get Spyder launched. Open up Anaconda Navigator and scroll down to the Spyder button and click on Launch. The Spyder editor will come up. This is where the magic happens. We'll print out our first program. We'll call print, and in quotes, hello world. And if we press the run button up here, or the F5 key on your keyboard, you'll see the words hello world printed out in your lower right corner. Congratulations, you've written your first line of Python. You are now a programmer. Let's take a tour of the Spyder editor, shall we? Along the left-hand side, we have our code editor. This is where we're going to write our Python code. Each of your Python files are opened up in new tabs, and you can have multiple files opened at the same time. You'll notice that just above this tab is the working directory. We'll talk about the working directory in a few minutes. At the lower right corner is our output console. So anytime we use the print function or anytime there's an error in our program, we'll see that output show up here. So a quick note on working directories. When you launch Spyder, it usually creates a new Python file and places it in a temporary folder. You need to first save this file to your project folder. Otherwise, Python might not be able to find the data files you try to read. On my machine, Spyder places new files in my home directory by default. So how do you save a Python file correctly? Well, I'm going to go to File, Save As. And I've got a folder here set up called Week 1, and I'm going to save this file as example1.py. You'll see that my working directory has now changed to my Week 1 folder. So now Python will be able to see any CSV or Excel files that are stored in the same folder. So let's take another look at our Hello World program. So our first program is using this built-in function, the print function, to write text out to this console down here. Our Hello World is wrapped in these quotes, these single quotes. This tells Python this is a piece of text. Anything that's wrapped in this quote is text. Here's what would have happened if I would have left off the quotes. If I try to run this code, Python says invalid syntax. That's the computer's way of saying, huh? This is because I took hello world out of quotes. If I want to print something out to my lower right-hand console, I have to wrap it in quotes. Now, in any programming language, you're going to need to store data in memory so that we can use it somewhere else later. Very soon, we're going to read CSV files into Python, and we need to tell Python where in memory we can store our data so that we can use it. What's a variable? It's a named spot in memory where you can store your data. These are cleaned up when the program is done running. Let's create a variable called myName. I'm going to come back into Spyder. I'm going to put a couple lines in here, and I'm going to create a variable called myName, and I will set it equal to the value Elias. If I run this program, you'll see in the top right, this new myName has shown up with the value Elias. This is the Variable Explorer. Any variables you declare will appear up in this Variable Explorer tab. The Variable Explorer will tell you the name of the variable, what kind of value it holds, and what its current value is. In Python, we can give variable names letters, numbers, and underscores. Variable names must start with a letter or an underscore character. And most important, variable names are case sensitive. So say you have two variables, one with a capital A for age and one with a lowercase a for age. These are two different variables. Let's try that and convince ourselves this is the case. We'll create a variable age with a capital A and set it equal to 23. And we'll create a variable age with a lowercase a and set it equal to 28. If we run our program, we see two variables in our Variable Explorer, one with the value 23 and one with the value 28. Now, have you noticed this type column in our Variable Explorer? Well, it turns out that each variable in Python can hold a different type. We have two variables which hold integers or whole numbers, and we have a third variable that holds string or text-based data. As we go on, we'll see other types, for example, data frames and columns. We can also use Python to perform basic math. So in this new example, we're going to create two variables and then add them together and store the result in a third variable. And then we're going to print out the result to our console. So check this out. Let's create a variable called x. We'll set it equal to 5. Let's create a variable called y. We'll set it equal to 4. Let's create a variable to hold the result of x plus y. And then we will print result to our console. If I run this program now, you'll see in the Variable Explorer we have a variable x equal to 5, a variable y equal to 4, and our result variable equal to 9. Two integers, 5 plus 4 equals 9, and we see down here that our result has been printed out to the console. So print can print out a string or a block of text like this, or it can print out the value of a variable. Now let's make one change to our code. What if we tweaked our example and put the 4 in quotation marks and then tried to add the variables x and y? What would happen? We'll come back into Python and I'm going to put my 4 in quotes. Watch what happens. I get this type error, unsupported operand type. What's going on here? Well, because we put the value of y inside quotes, we've changed y from being an integer to a string or text-based data. Python doesn't know how to add numbers and text together. So we would need to convert the value of y back into a number in order to perform our mathematical addition. There are other functions that we can use to do this, but this is just to illustrate that if you ever get this kind of a type error, it's a hint that you're trying to perform mathematics on two items where one of which might not be a number.